Welcome back, everybody, to the Finders Flippers podcast. I am Wes from the Slim Flippers. Guys, you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves as well?
Sure, I'm Stewart with Franklin Hill Ventures.
And Johnny with Frizzy's Finds.
Well, gentlemen, how has your week been so far?
Go ahead, Johnny.
Pretty uneventful. We went thrifting on Saturday, and then Sunday was kind of a rainy day, so we just kind of took that one off.
Stewart?
Let's see. Friday I smoked meat, and then Saturday I worked at my antique mall, and then Sunday I ate meat. How's that?
So what kind of meat did you smoke, Stewart?
Let's see. I smoked a round of bologna, then I smoked a bunch of chicken thighs, and then I also smoked a bunch of bratwurst. So yeah, it was good. I've been eating bologna sandwiches ever since then for lunch and chicken thighs for dinner.
Well, let's talk about your smoker. Where did you get your smoker from?
Let's see. Where did I think I got it? I think I got it at Lowe's. Mine's one of the Pit Boss Pros. Like I looked at the Traeger, and this is smoking with Stewart hour here. I looked at both the Traeger and the Pit Boss. I tend to smoke a lot of meat when I do it, and the problem was, for the money, I could get about twice the size on the Pit Boss that I could on the Traeger, and it's done a really good job. I mean, it's taken me a while to get. I went from an offset wood smoker to a pellet smoker, and I love the convenience of the pellet smoker and being able to set the temperature and not have to sit out there all day and babysit it and feed wood. But you do, I mean, in my opinion anyway, you lose a little bit of the smoke flavor that you get with the offset, but it still turns out really good. I mean, you get some smoke flavor, and there's some tricks you can do to amp it up. But yeah, it was. I can just basically turn it on, put it in there, and I don't even really have to check on it, except maybe every 5 or 6 hours, just to make sure that the pellet hopper's full. So,
Did you enjoy that during the UT game?
I did not enjoy anything at all about the UT game.
I was trying to find my Gators hat before I came on, but I couldn't find it. I was gonna.
That was terrible. I thought that topic was off limits for this show. But.
I know I'm outnumbered on this, but you know.
Well, here I am, Pittsburgh Steelers, right there.
Yeah.
Last night we eked out a win over the Cleveland Browns, and bless that poor running back. I don't know if y'all saw the kid, Nick Chubb.
Oh, yeah.
Gurley?
No, Nick Chubb.
Oh, Chubb, yeah. Gurley's the other one from Florida, but
yeah.
I mean from Georgia, but
yeah, he got hit by Minka Fitzpatrick last night, and you could hear him yelling.
Yeah,
it was so bad, and you know, God bless him, because I know they said today he's tore 3 of the 4 ligaments in his knee.
Ooh.
And he dislocated his kneecap. The only one he didn't tear was his ACL. But wow. MCL, all those, he got 3 of them. And of course, he did that Stewart a few years ago against UT.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they said part of the problem is he's got all this scar tissue and the cartilage in there, and it's I don't know. I feel really bad for the kid. I just think it's a bad deal for him.
Oh, it was terrible. I mean, as soon as it happened, you saw the Pittsburgh players, and they were waving the medical staff onto the field. So you probably heard it when it happened, I guess.
And you know, those guys, they all know each other. All those players from all those teams, they know each other. They're just like a big community.
Yeah.
And I think one of the neat things was when they were getting Chubb on the cart and taking him off, Pittsburgh started chanting his name, Chubb, Chubb, Chubb. So
that's cool.
You know, you kind of hate to see that happen, especially with the element of competition. You know, everybody's out there trying to make a living, and then they have something catastrophic like that happen. They, Minka Fitzpatrick ended up. I'm not sure if he has a concussion or not, but they said he was not doing well either. He was sick on the sidelines.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to see anybody get hurt. I mean, even if UT's playing somebody, you never see want to see somebody get hurt for the other team,
Right.
especially something as serious as that was last night.
Yeah, that's scary.
How
So
about you, Wes? What'd you do?
I was going to tell you about my experience with my smoker. I actually built one from a 55-gallon drum.
Oh, wow.
And I put all the hardware in it and everything. And I used that thing for 6 or 7 years. Ended up, I was wanting to sell it. And this guy across the street had a smaller drum smoker. And he said, I never use it. He just gave it to me. So that's a good way to source, isn't it?
There you go. It all comes back in.
Pulling it all back around. So, this weekend I went to 3 yard sales and bought maybe 2 things. I feel like I'm in this rut. I can't get out of it. I don't know if I'm actively really trying to get out of it so much. It's I don't know.
You're back to work, man. That's tough.
That's true.
That is
very
tough. Yeah, I mean, this was one of the best yard selling weekends I've had in a while. I mean, and with that being said, it's not like I hit any big home runs, but I did buy quite a few things, especially on Friday. I mean, I went out Friday morning, and there were a couple of neighborhood yard sales this last weekend, and then I went Saturday morning on the way to Granny's Attic in Clinton, where I worked Saturday, and there was, of course, the weekend I have to work at Granny's, I mean, there are literally like 8 neighborhood yard sales on Saturday, so I couldn't go to as many as I wanted to, but I ended up getting a few things. So I've already got most of it listed, and I don't think I've sold any of the stuff I bought this weekend yet, but it's out there and available.
Yeah, I picked up a pair of golf shoes for $1 that sold for $35 this morning. So that was a good flip.
Awesome. Quick flip and good. Yeah, I mean, anytime you can turn it that quick.
Yeah, and I think like knowing, because we do a lot of clothes, so knowing that we're going into a season change, like anything that hints of summer, we're just like looking at what they're selling for, going below it, and just trying to get it out.
Well, Stewart, you had just mentioned this. How and going back to work. Actually, Johnny, you mentioned it. Going back to work. Let's jump into the part-timer, full-timer thing again. I want to kind of cover that because it does get tough.
Yeah.
I went from this summertime, just kind of doing my own thing and sourcing when I wanted to now I'm fully back into teaching school, and I've been doing a fall league for 6 weeks now, reffing basketball. That's ended, but the season's going to pick up here in about 4 or 5 weeks. So how do you balance yours, Johnny? I know we had talked off screen about that, but
yeah, I mean,
kind of dive into how you balance it.
Yeah, it's been tough. I pre-pandemic, I was already working remote, so I was kind of used to that remote lifestyle. And then obviously full swing pandemic, and then, which it gave you a little bit more time, right? When you're kind of stuck in an office or you're in school, even in between classes, like you can't leave, when it's downtime. Where when you're working remote, or, I was working hybrid for a while, if I had 2 hours, we'd drop off packages to the post office. We'd go into the local Goodwill. I'd be back in time for my next meeting, none the wiser. But I know for me at work, things have been tightening up. I've been having to be in the office more, and it's been hard. And, to your point, Wes, like being in a rut and not sure you're trying to even help yourself get out of it. Like I feel that exact same way. It's weird because you love it, but there's still a job element to it, even if you love it, because you have to post every day. If you're trying to put out content, you got to put out content, multiple times a week. But like you get home and you're done, right? You're done for the day. But your 5 to 9 takes a hit. And I'll tell you, man, it's been hard. I've been probably right there with you, just kind of feeling that rut a little bit. And, thankfully, for me, and I know you, we have help, right? We're kind of a team in our house, but I'm definitely not holding up my end of the bargain. I know that for sure.
Well, that's definitely how I feel. I don't feel like I'm holding up my end of the bargain. My wife is continuing to, get great sales and everything, and mine have dipped because I'm not putting in the work that I should be, but because I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm obviously my number one priority is my teaching job.
Yeah.
But I think the fall league kind of got me down because I was reffing 3 games every Tuesday and every Thursday night. So I'm putting in 6 games a week for 6 weeks, and it runs you in the ground. And it's got me concerned now for this basketball season.
I think some
But
of it though is you got to adjust to that schedule again, right? Like
Right.
you're kind of going through a transition a little bit. It
Right.
might take a couple weeks, and then like, okay, listen, I don't have as many opportunities, but I'm going to take advantage of those opportunities I have.
But have you, Johnny, though, have you felt that tug, like you just don't feel like you're swinging the weight with your wife? I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about. You're just like, I'm trying to help. I'm doing everything I can. It's just I'm just not.
So whether or not she was the one filming content or I was filming content, like I was editing and putting the content together. So like all the shorts, the YouTube videos, like 90% of that, like I was doing. And now, I don't know, we haven't put a short out in a week, right? Like it's just, it's always like more, and it's tough, man. But again, like my job brings in the household income, right? Like what we do reselling, what Frizzy does, and what I do, that's kind of like our extra bonus money. So like my job, it has to be right. At the end of the day, like that's our health insurance, that's everything. But I don't know, it kind of like sucks feeling like, you're just not doing it, but you're doing it,
Well,
right? Like you're providing, but
to insult the injury here, my wife's in there watching us in the other room. She just brought these in. She just now sold these $50. So I'm gonna hand those back off. So, I'm getting smaller and smaller. I'm the smallest reseller on YouTube now. I'm the tallest but the smallest.
But Stewart, for you, like, doing this full time, like it's a job though, right? Like Wes and I, if we're slacking, like we're slacking on our side hustle. But like, what is that just reselling like as your life? Like there's a difference between just fun side hustle thing and like, no, I like need water and electricity.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I've been full time on the reselling side since September of 21. And I mean, I always tell people that really before I went full time reselling, it was really like I had 2 full time jobs because I still worked. I was putting in 6 to 8 hours most days on the reselling side too. When I'd get home from work or, in the morning or just during lunch or whenever I was doing it. So, and of course, once I made that decision to go full time, once you get that seed in your brain, I mean, it's hard to get out of your head, that you're going to give that a try. And so, I mean, I saved a lot of money through a program they had where I worked. And so, was able to leave there with a pretty good amount of cash built up to help me get through that first year as I was trying to build up the business. And I mean, just like you, Johnny, I was fortunate. Looks like we lost Johnny, but I was fortunate that, I mean, I've been working remote since before working remote was a thing, really. I mean, I started working remote probably in around 2000. Well, working pretty much full-time remote in around 2006. I mean, that's when I moved from Nashville to Knoxville, but I was still working for the company in Nashville. So I've always had a lot of flexibility in my schedule, but I've always been very self-motivated and, work well without really any supervision or anything like that, which, I mean, that translates well into becoming a full-time reseller because there's obviously a ton of distractions out there. When you're home by yourself, there's nobody watching over you. There's temptations to, go watch TV or, go outside and hang out or eat or whatever. Eating's probably the biggest temptation that I have to, to try to stay away from, because I tend to eat when I get bored sometime. But one of the biggest stumbling blocks, I think, to a lot of people when they go full time, and you kind of mentioned it, Johnny, you have the insurance for your family. I was fortunate in that, I worked in Chattanooga, even in Erlanger Hospital, and we lived here. So we were originally under my insurance at Erlanger. The problem was, if you didn't go to things in Chattanooga, like co-pays and everything else was a lot more expensive. So even before I went full time, we switched over to Amy's insurance. So I was already on her insurance when I decided to leave Erlanger and go full time reselling. So that's one part that, was taken care of, which I know, like if you're both, if both spouses are reselling or you were the main insurance and the other spouse doesn't have it, that can be a really expensive part of going full time. So, I'm 3 years into the full time? Yeah, 3 years this year, basically. Or is it 2 years? Yeah, 21 I left. So 2 years is how far I'm into it now. I'm just starting my third year. And, I've grown every year. I still don't feel like I'm anywhere close to where I want to be or really need to be, because, it's one thing to replace my income from my last job, but then you've also got to think about, I was contributing a lot to a 401k when I was working an office job, just in general, you're having employee matching, you have a lot of built-in savings that's hard to replicate as a reseller. So, kind of stage one's just trying to replace your income. And then, the next stage will be getting that income replaced, then being able to continue to save. And I have a pretty good amount built up in 401ks for all my jobs. So, it's not like, I don't have any savings in the bank to fall back on, when I do decide to retire. And, who knows? I mean, the good thing about reselling is that, at least to this point too, a little over 2 years in, I still don't feel like it's a job. So from that standpoint, it's fun. I enjoy it. So I feel like it's something that I can continue to do, even past what would be a normal retirement age, past 62, past 65, whatever age I was going to retire originally. So the good thing is you can have that revenue coming in to help supplement, like Social Security or whatever. I mean, my goal would be to try to keep from drawing Social Security at least till 65 by, continuing to resell on past 62. But the other thing I've been fortunate with is that I've tried to add a new revenue stream every year. That's kind of my goal. So, I start out with just like selling mainly on eBay, or right before I went full time, I started using List Perfectly and really branched out to a lot of other platforms. And that increased my revenue exponentially just from the pure reselling standpoint. And then I added in Whatnot, and, Whatnot was a really big bump in revenue last year. And then, towards the end of last year into this year, I've started doing some IT consulting. So I've almost flipped it around, where previously, I had my full-time job and did reselling as my part-time income. Now I try to make, I get most of my income from reselling, but I'm supplementing it with IT consulting for hospitals, which is nice because, it's not just the money coming in. It's just a nice change of pace. Kind of helps use that, part of your brain you probably don't use in reselling, because a lot of the reselling stuff is pretty tedious, just monotonous. You're listing and it's, you get in a groove and you're not having to think a whole lot. So from that standpoint, it's really been a godsend, both from the, the extra money part's really nice, but also just to kind of break up my day. And I usually do anywhere between 3 to 8 hours a week on that. So, but yeah, it is definitely tough. You're only as good as what you found yesterday. So it's something that makes sourcing a lot more stressful. And, and especially when you're not selling a lot of consumables or, things that you can just, replace. I don't hardly sell anything that has multiple quantities. Unless I get a set of China, and I'm selling that, but it's still, not anything I go out and order, the next batch of it from Alibaba or wherever you might go replenish stock from. So pretty much everything I sell, once it's gone, it's gone.
One thing that I've started leaning on is my death pile. Now, I don't have a major death pile, but I find a little bit more comfort in it that I feel like, I'm doing something. I'm not just stuck completely dead in the mud. I listed, I think it was probably 18 things Saturday out of my death pile. So I'm pretty excited about that. So I'm always trying to focus and get at least something and make something out of nothing, so to speak. But boy, it's been very frustrating this last several weeks. I will admit it's been very frustrating. Johnny, I don't know how you feel. I have a feeling though you're right there with me.
Yeah, for sure. But if you think about it, there's a lot of people who just source all summer and then use everything that they purchased all summer long to, get up and get posted. But like, as we all know, sourcing's the fun part, right? Like, no
Yeah.
one's like, yeah, I can't wait to just list forever. You want to go out there and source. So it's just, I don't know, we started doing this last January. So this is, our second real full year of doing it. And I think we're just kind of figuring it all out. Like Frizzy's getting really, really good at it. And I don't want to fall too far behind, right?
Well, see, that's what I feel like I'm doing. My wife is, I mean, she's going. Just
Yeah.
like, wow. She's like, hey, I sold it. I just showed you the boots she just brought in here. And I was like, she goes, I just sold these, just listed them like 2 hours ago. So,
Yeah.
woohoo,
So how much have y'all seen a slowdown in the summer in your sales? I mean, have you seen much of any slowdown?
Yes, we have. Thanks. She says
Have
she
you,
has.
have you been listing as much though? I mean, is it truly we're listing the same amount, not seeing the same amount of sales, or is
I've
it?
been listing more actually.
Well, that's
I've
the
been
good thing
listing more.
is that's getting ready for quarter 4. Which will.
Right.
I mean, it's been funny just the last. Well, I don't know if it's funny, but it's been good just the last 2 weeks. I know we're getting close to quarter 4 with October 1st coming, and I have seen a big uptick in sales. Now, I've really made a concerted effort to start listing more too over the last month. I mean, for as long as I've been full time, I mean, I never really I think I was at about 850 listings when I went full time, and I would hover between 850 and 900. I mean, and I know just having listings doesn't necessarily lead to sales,
Yeah.
but, I've really made a big effort to like get more into my online stores to try to, just take the next step into like the next revenue, I guess, level. And, now I'm at like 1,026 and I've started charting like, how many I list each day, how many I sell each day. And there definitely seems to be a correlation, between how much you list. And I don't know if it's as much how many things you have listed or just how much you're listing each day, but pretty consistently now I've been tracking it for almost 2 months now. And pretty consistently I've been selling anywhere between 65 to 75% of the number that I list, the same number, 65 to 75% of that number in sales. Now, the revenue obviously varies each day depending on how expensive the items I sell are. But, it's been pretty interesting to see that. And it's really helped motivate me to keep listing too.
We noticed last week we had to cancel 2 orders that had sold on Poshmark that we didn't take down. And ever since we've done that, our sales have died. I mean, it has been about a week and a half of just crickets. I mean, we'll sell, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 things a day, a little more on the weekend. And I don't know, I think we have like 2 or 3 sales today. It's just, but we call it eBay's mad at us. So whenever we have to cancel an order, we're like, eBay's mad at us. So eBay is currently mad at us.
And don't that just drive you crazy too? Because you're like, I know I put that here, and you cannot find that item. You've seen it. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I've got probably 3 things that I've I've lost that I was unable to find.
Yeah. Like we canceled something on Poshmark the other day, which one of the things I do like about Poshmark, they're a little bit more forgiving if you have to cancel orders or anything like that. But we sold a pair of shoes that we sold on eBay in 2022 and it just never took down and just happened to sell randomly. And you're like, are you kidding me? Like we wouldn't even buy those shoes now knowing what we know, and we're catching slack for it a year and a half later.
Mm-hmm. I think that's part of mine too. The sourcing problem that I'm having is I'm just being more pickier. I just I'm not buying things that's going to fill up these tubs out here.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happened to me. I'm just listening to all these different resellers that I've been able to talk with and learn things. I'm walking away from stuff that, a year ago, I'm like, oh yeah, and I really think that's my problem. I'm trying to figure it out, but I'll pick up an item here or there and that's about it. I hope that's what it is, because I know I'm in some sort of reselling dip right now myself personally.
Yeah.
My wife is not. So,
but when we first started, I mean, we used to go to the Goodwill bins and just fill bins. I mean, we would fill bins and go back home, and we went from 0 to 1,200 listings in like maybe 2 or 3 months, like just psycho. And we've held at about 1,200 listings for the last year or so. Just, sometimes we dip a little below, sometimes we go above, but we've been pretty consistent at like 1,200 listings.
that's where we're at. We're at 1,200
Yeah.
right at as well.
But I think one of the things.
Go ahead.
I think one of the things for us we're trying to figure out is like, how do we grow? Like, from a sales standpoint, right? Like, I mean, I'd rather sell 100 things for $1,000 than 1,000 things for $100 or, whatever. But I think the tricky part for us is like, we don't know how we can possibly source more without lowering the bar, which is not what you want to do, because we're not buying pallets, we're not LLC, so we're not, licensing from vendors and stuff like that. And so I think that's kind of been our crossroads.
Stewart, you want to give us part-timers any words of wisdom?
I don't know that I really have any words of wisdom per se. I mean, my models, I mean, just selling the types of things that I sell, I just try to have a good mix of lower priced items and higher priced items. I mean, because, I sell a lot of flatware, really easy to list, really easy to ship, but, for, 4x4 Explorer spoons, it's usually somewhere between $16 and $30, just depending on the pattern. So, not a real high dollar item, but not a lot of time involved either. I mean, I just have using List Perfectly to do all my listings. I have templates set up for flatware, and I can get that stuff loaded really quick. Then, obviously real easy to pack because it can't break or anything. But, I try to mix in things that, are $100 plus items. And then, of course, I do have the 3 antique booth locations, and that's where I sell most of my, like if you were to just look at my eBay store, or if you looked at all 6 platforms I sell on, between, eBay, Etsy, Mercari, Poshmark, Facebook Marketplace, and Depop, you would look at my revenue and think, he's not making full-time revenue necessarily. But, a lot of my higher dollar items run through my antique malls. And, so I have that outlet. And I mean, some of it's stuff I could list online, but especially like larger breakables, I wouldn't have a problem packaging up and ship them. If I can sell them for the same, or similar in my antique malls, it's, I don't have to package it. I don't have to worry about it being returned. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So it's just a whole lot easier to do that. So, when I'm sourcing, I'm always sourcing with like one eye for stuff for the booth and the other eye for stuff to put online. And I don't really have hard and fast rules. It's just, sometimes it's just kind of a gut feeling. Hey, I think I might get a little more for this on one of the online platforms. Other times it's like, hey, I just, I need something like this in my booth because it's going to bring people in. So, But yeah, it does make it a little easier when you have the different, the different outlets you can put stuff. Hey, welcome in, Harry Hums. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, and you're like me, mostly antiques and vintage. So,
Stewart, do your antique booths, obviously you pay, like a monthly rent, and then do they take a percentage of what you sell, or how does that work?
yeah, and all three of the ones I'm in are very similar. I'm in one in Clinton, Granny's Attic, and then two in Knoxville, Bearden Antique Mall and Weston Antiques. And yeah, they all have a monthly rent, and then they all take 10% of your gross revenue, basically. So
Is that pretty standard?
yeah, I mean, at least in this area, I mean, I was talking to a guy the other day who I think he lives out in California, maybe, and he has a booth at a place and he just pays rent. They don't take any commissions. So I guess it just depends on the place, but that seems to be pretty standard here in Knoxville. And, and the like price per square foot, it's pretty similar at the three places I'm in. I have so much space in Clinton, I get a little bit of a break there. I have the equivalent of 4 booths in Clinton.
Oh, wow.
Hey, Rachel's flipping in East Tennessee. Welcome in.
Yeah, well, hello, Rachel. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's neat though, looking at us three here. I think Johnny and I are more similar in what we're doing, and Stewart, you're obviously on the antique side of it. I like that dynamic because there's different things you can. I'm honestly thinking about things that you source now, Stewart, when I'm out looking that I would have never even thought about. Now I'm probably not going to pick up most of the stuff that you do, but it's interesting when you're out and you're looking at things when you're at these places to source. You take a different approach to it, and that's been helpful too. But I also think it's a double-edged sword because it's shutting me down. I'm in a kryptonite state of mind.
Now, you and Johnny are selling similar items, right? I mean, y'all are doing what, hats and shoes, and
clothes, things that he don't wear.
Yeah.
I sent him a short video this week.
Oh yeah, I forgot Johnny was supposed to wear a thrifted shirt today.
Is that thrifted, Johnny?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Come on.
I don't know, guys. Can't do it.
And I do mostly antiques and vintage, but I mean, I've got a few things listed that don't fall in the antique and vintage category, primarily online. I mean, most everything in my booths would be antique and vintage with a few exceptions. Like out in Clinton, I sell a lot of band t-shirts, whether they're old or not, just because they sell really well there. I can find them at the thrift shop. It can be a modern day Guns N' Roses t-shirt, but it'll still sell for $16 at the booth. So I pick those up. I used to actually do more liquidation type stuff back when I guess liquidation.com's still around, but back before all the bin stores opened. And, now I feel like that the bin stores catch a lot of the stuff that individuals could get through your liquidation.com sites. I mean, a good example is my brother. He did full-time reselling for 5 years, and his whole bread and butter was pretty much video games and DVDs. He got big enough, he bought a warehouse, and then he had a disc resurfacer, and he was buying probably 8 to 10 pallets a week from liquidation.com,
Wow.
which were primarily Amazon returns. I mean, pretty much any DVD or video game lot that came up, he would win it. I mean, he would, sometimes you had to pay a little more, sometimes you get lucky and get them for less. But, what ended up happening with him, and the reason he ended up eventually having to go back out into the real world, was he had pretty much all his eggs in that basket of video games and DVDs. He sold a few other things, but I mean, that was probably 95% of his income. And he was doing well into the 6 figures just doing those two things. But at some point, liquidation.com, they quit having media specific lots. They would throw a little bit of media in with the electronics and stuff. But what he thinks is most of that stuff started going to your Ollie's and your bargain hunts and bin stores and, all those things that have opened up since then. And you just can't find those kind of things as an individual anymore. And I mean, it killed him. I mean, he, eventually, he still resells for a hobby. But yeah, he's, he ended up having to go back into retail like he did before. So, I mean, I've kind of,
Rachel's got a question there for you.
oh yeah, Rachel. So it's actually kind of neither. It's, so if I don't know if you've been to downtown Clinton, Rachel, but they have a historic downtown antique district. So we're in Granny's Attic, which is just one of the antique stores down there. So it's mostly antiques and vintage. I mean, there's obviously when you go into Granny's is probably the most eclectic store down there, and you'll see a little bit of everything. So there's some flea market type stuff, but for the most part, it's all antique and vintage. So, and just a quick plug for Clinton, October 7th. So the 6th and the 7th, I think, or that whole weekend is the Fall Festival in Clinton. So if you're anywhere in the area, I would highly recommend you coming to Clinton. They close all the streets down. They have street vendors. There's food vendors. All the stores in town will be running sales. And there's probably 8 to 12 antique malls all within walking distance. So you can go make a whole day of it. I think they even have a beer garden. So, so it's not too far from you, Rachel. So I would, if you can make it down to the Fall Festival and come into Granny's, I'll be working that day. So come in and say hello. But yeah, the last thing I'll say, I use what happened to my brother as kind of a warning for me. I've tried not to, I do specialize kind of in antique and vintage, but the good thing is there's so many, subcategories under that I don't feel like I'll ever have, if one bucket were to dry up, I still have 20 other buckets that I can pull out of.
I like what Harry said right here. He said it's a side gig and he likes doing it,
Well, yeah, and that's exactly
that's me for sure.
Well, and that was me for, 20 years. It was my hobby and I loved it. And I still, it still feels just the same. It doesn't feel like a job. And I think the day it starts feeling like a job's the day I just need to go back and make more money working in the corporate world, because I'm certainly not making the money that I was making when I was working, in hospitals. So, if reselling ever feels like a job, then why are you doing it? That's my opinion.
What about you, Johnny? Does it feel like a job now that we're not sourcing very well and we're not pulling our weight?
No, and I say that only because I have a job and that feels like a job. So a lot of like Frizzy, going out and doing her shopping and stuff, that's just pure jealousy at this point, right? Like I wish that's what I was out there doing, but it's still, I guess it feels a little bit more like a job than maybe just like a side funsy kind of thing. Because you do thankfully, like to Stewart's point, thankfully it does feel fun, most of the time, because it's a lot of work. There's parts of what we do reselling that is a lot more work than my 9-to-5 job is.
Right. Well, I completely agree with you. I, when you first come into it, you don't know what you don't know. That's just, but now that I'm a little over a year now, I really start to see some trends and some things, and I've listened quite a bit. And I think that's where I'm frustrated at, because you hear people say, get out there and source, get out there and, and list those things. And I've just turned to my death pile, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was talking with Death Pile Picker the other day, he was talking about how enormous his death pile is. I think I feel fortunate that mine is not that big. But at the same time, I still see my wife moving and shaking, and she works a full-time job too.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't go and ref like I do and have these extra jobs that I do either. But for me, she's putting on a show. I'm very proud of her for doing it.
Stewart, for you, is it more important to move things quickly or get top dollar, or a little bit of both? I know for me, like there's some things where if I know I only paid $1 or 2 for it, I might take that low ball offer and move it versus if I have more invested into it. But sometimes I feel like I should just be moving everything.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a combination of both. I mean, I typically try to list things, on the high end of what my research has shown it'll sell for at first, and um, and then over time, I don't usually go down. I usually don't go in lower prices per se, but I'm more willing to take a lower offer, send out. I mean, I send out a lot of offers on eBay, and I make a whole bunch of sales that way. And if something's been out there for a while, I may offer 25-30% versus kind of my standards more like 10 to 15% when something's just been out there. So, um, but I mean, I sell a ton of stuff that's even as low as like $8 to, $30. And then, mix in, some $100, 75, 100, 150, up into the, $200, $300 range at the booth a lot of times. I mean, I think my best sell this last week, and it's always fun when you sell something you forgot you had. I've had this mid-century modern bedroom set that we bought at an auction. I mean, like forever ago. It was at one of the auctions that's not even around anymore, so I'm not sure exactly how long we'd had it. But we took it out to Beard Antique Mall, and we sold every piece except for the bed. I mean, in general, bed frames are tougher sell than dressers and wardrobes and chest of drawers and things like that. So we'd sold all the other pieces, and we'd just taken the bed upstairs at Beard, and that's kind of a free area where people can put stuff up there. And it just got shoved in a corner, and I was looking through my book when I went there the other day. I was like, Julie, what's this bed frame? I don't even remember having one. She goes, well, I'd forgotten you had it too. It was part of that mid-century modern bedroom set. I was like, cool. Yeah, it's like I've had a $150 bill sitting upstairs. So I didn't even know it.
Wes, do you send a lot of offers out?
Every day.
Yeah.
And I have no qualms not. I send them out all the time. Especially when you get in the lull, like you and your wife have been in here in the last week and a half. Yep. I mean, you just want to move things. Yep. And when you finally get that sale like these boots, I know my wife is excited. She's stoked about that. When you get those sales, you get that little adrenaline rush, and you're like, okay, here we go. And then, but yeah, I send offers whenever I can for sure.
Yeah. And that's why, like, I think sometimes, like, especially when sales, like, there's offers where if we're just killing it and things are selling, like, I'm countering. But like when we're in these funks like this, like anybody watching, feel free to send us any lowball offer because we'll probably take it right now.
Probably going to take it.
Probably going to take it. But for us, I think a lot of it just depends on like how things are going, and it's slow right now. So we've taken some things where we're like, we just need to win. We just need to get on the board.
And that's the thing that I feel like I got to get on the board.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much counter offers from me.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's pretty reasonable. I think I like that.
I mean, it's definitely good that Q4 is coming up, and especially for the types of stuff y'all sell. I think antiques. I think Q4 helps, but I do think antiques tend to be more consistent year round. Whereas I believe when you're in clothes and shoes and Christmas starts getting closer, electronics, those types of things, I think Q4 usually probably sees a huge bump. I definitely see a bump, but it's not, it's not as extreme, I feel, as other people. Although I will say I'm so looking forward to October getting here because I'm hoping to really kick off Q4 good because we have the Fall Festival, which is, that's a make or break weekend at Granny's in Clinton. You can't overstate how many people are going to be there. And literally, usually the whole mall that weekend will do like 10 times what you do in a normal weekend. So, and that kind of translates down to the booths as well. And then Amy, the same weekend as the Fall Festival, she's doing a festival at the Lucky Dog Farm out in Powell here in Knoxville, and she's selling our Franklin Hill Farms pickles, butters, preserves, and salsas at that. it's a thing we'd done last year and we did really well at it, but it just happened to be the same weekend as the fall festival. So Amy will be out there hustling our Franklin Hill Farms products at that.
So when do you have time to put that stuff together, Stewart? Your farm products, because you sound like you're a very busy individual. And
I just
sit here and think about farm stuff now. It's just like, woo.
I get all my mason jars out up there in my pressure cooker. No, we don't actually make it. We private label it. It comes from up in Amish country, and it is so good. My challenge is not to eat all my profits. I mean, there's some of that stuff that's just absolutely incredible. And in the way, just a side note, the way we got into that, we were up in Sevierville, and and you go in all this. I mean, it's not just Sevierville, but pretty much anywhere you go in these little gift shops or theme parks or whatever, and they always have their private labels, pickles or whatever. And I told Amy, I said, I wonder if that's something we could sell out of our antique booths. There's nobody else doing that in any of the antique booths. So I just started researching, private labeling, contacted a couple of companies, and ended up going with this one that was up in the Amish area of Pennsylvania. And, they helped us design the label and everything. And it's really taken off. The biggest surprise to me has been how much I sell on Whatnot. I never intended to sell it on Whatnot, but I gave away a jar one time, and that just kind of started a snowball. And now we sell so much of that stuff over on Whatnot. And the new shipping model they implemented's really helped a lot with, people's shipping costs. Because it used to be, I never thought anybody'd buy it because the shipping was so high. But now that they've got a new model over there, you can actually get 2 jars shipped for $8.35, which isn't too bad. So,
we're talking the other day about how you go and you look at pictures and things that you wished you still had. That you either grew up with or whatever.
Yeah.
Right this moment, Stewart, I'm looking behind you, and you have Big Bird back there.
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to grab that real quick because I want to see if it's the one where you put your fingers in it and make the beak move and talk.
No, this is the one that's got the cassette tape in his butt, but it didn't work. I bought it at a thrift shop, and it didn't work. I never could get the batteries to, it wouldn't play. I don't know if it's, what needs to be done. So anyway, he's just become my companion here in the office. So
when I grew up, I had one though you could, hello, Marketplace Boutique. Thanks for joining us this evening. I had one when I was growing up, you stick your fingers in like this and you could make him talk by working.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
In the back of his head. So when I saw that, I thought, wow.
So what's the one toy that you had growing up that you still wish you had, or that I don't know, either because it was your favorite or because it'd be worth a lot of money now?
Because it was my favorite, Stretch Armstrong.
Oh yeah, I remember those. And then if they ever broke, that gel got all over the place.
Well, mine ended up bleeding out in my next door neighbor's garage. My friend of mine, we both had one, and so we decided that we wanted to see what was inside of it, and we took some scissors to it, unfortunately, and not good. He got in some big trouble. We had to clean all that whole garage.
Was it red or was it green?
It's red. Yeah, it was red. It was like a gel inside. It oozed out everywhere. And of course, I went home crying. I've lost my Stretch Armstrong.
Now, did you have didn't Stretch Armstrong have a dog?
If he did, I didn't have it. I don't remember that.
Pretty sure he did. Of course, this is all before Johnny's time, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was like
a moment for me personally. Yeah, sorry, Johnny. We're speaking way ahead of you on the.
I thought it was beads.
No.
Oh, that'd be awesome to find again. Marketplace.
Yeah.
They had
if anybody has a Stretch Armstrong, it's got the red gel in it. If it's nice and squishy.
Do you know it's red gel? Do you know it's red gel without it being open?
No.
No. No,
that's the kicker. You're not gonna know.
Yeah, of course. The
Yeah.
thing that my brothers, of course, I had two brothers, so we had no girls' toys in the house. It was all, all boys' toys. And we had the big, back when the GI Joes were, this tall, and they had the real
Right.
hair and beards and stuff. And I can remember we had this. My youngest brother, he was 6 years younger than me, so it was me, then 3 years younger than John was 6. So he had some little riding toy that had a little compartment in the back, and I remember we'd always put the GI Joes in there and roll it down this big hill, and it'd start tumbling, and then we'd always think it was cool to look to see what positions they were in by the time they got to the bottom of the hill. Things that boys do when they're kids.
Well, my friend also had one of those round pools on his back porch, and so we were going to go eat lunch one day, and we sent our GI Joes, and like you said, they were really big GI Joes. He was a redhead with a beard. I wanted mine to do a deep sea dive, so I took a brick and I laid it on top of him. We were probably eating for 30, 45 minutes or so. Came back and he's floating. His head's over here. His legs are over here. Torso was still underneath the brick, but boy, the rest of him didn't make it. So I lost a lot of toys at my friend's house now. I just realized.
Now you were all boys in your family too, weren't you, Wes? Or did you have a sister?
Yeah. No, there was just 5 boys. Yes, 5 boys.
I bet y'all's grocery bills were a little high.
Well, if you remember the Kroger over there on Chapman Highway,
yeah.
My dad was a business manager at Baptist Hospital for years, and I remember we'd go there every Sunday afternoon, and I'm not kidding, we would walk out of that place with 7 carts of groceries.
Wow.
5 gallons of milk. I don't know how my dad did it. I mean, I know how he did it. He worked 3 and 4 jobs at a time. And so that's why when I work like I do, it doesn't seem, anything out of the ordinary. I was just used to, he would work all day long at the hospital, come home and run a cash register over at the Bilo Market on John Sevier for 4 hours.
And just so everybody in the listening audience can kind of get a mental picture, Wes is 6'7", and he's like the short one in the family. So you can imagine how many groceries they probably ate as kids.
Well, here's our height starting with the oldest: 6'6", 7 foot, 6'10", 6'4", and I'm 6'6". So
you're the second. So you're the second shortest. Yeah,
but bless my parents. I mean, I don't know how or why they did it.
Well, it's funny. Like, I'm the oldest, and I'm 5'11". That's what I'll say. I'm really probably more 5'10 and a half, but especially now that I've gotten older. But then my second brother, my middle brother, he's 6'2". Then my youngest brother is 6'6". So everybody used to always tell my mom, if you'd had another boy, he'd have been 7 foot. But
what about you, Johnny?
So I had, do you guys remember those like WWF figures, but the big rubber guys?
Mm-hmm.
I had, probably like 30 or 35 of them that when I was moving out of my parents' house, I sold on eBay for probably pennies on the dollar, because I probably lost money on shipping. But to have all those guys now, to be able to resell them, woof, man.
My wife right now has Andre the Giant, that one you're talking about.
That is like the tall rubber one.
And it's rubber, yeah. It's made of rubber.
Did you have the ring? Did you have the wrestling ring and everything that went with it?
Yeah, all of it. I had the blue steel cage that would attach to the ring, back in the 80s, when it wasn't a fence, but it was those big blue squares. Oh, yeah.
Marketplace Boutique says, I used to have a white musical Teddy from the 70s, still looking for him again. And that's the thing about it. You go back and you look at your pictures, you may see old videos or whatever, and you just sit there and you go, man, what happened to that? And I mean, do you all have anything from your childhood, toys and stuff?
About the only thing I have still, I don't know if do you remember the Status Pro Sports Illustrated games? They had like Status Pro baseball and football.
Vaguely.
They were simulations, so I still have my Status Pro baseball, and they sell for a lot on eBay, but I won't sell that. Although my brother found one. What's that? I was just going to say, my brother found one of the Status Pro sealed at a game shop the other day, and he paid $15 and sold it for like $150. So there's a bolo for you. Hey, Happy Picker.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Happy Picker. Appreciate you. I have a Tonka truck that I think I got when I was 10 for Christmas, and it has the wheel where you can take it off and change out the wheel with a little jack. You jack it up. I have held on to that for quite a while, and I won't let it go. But
so I have binders and binders of overproduced late 80s, early 90s baseball and football cards that are probably not worth the cardboard they're printed on, and I've moved with me like 12 times, but I still have all of them.
Oh, see, Jimmy from Old School Flips is yelling, "Hey, what's up, Jimmy? How you doing, sir? I hope you're going to be able to join me tomorrow night on the Slim Flippers." So
yeah, looking forward to that episode.
Do what?
Looking forward to that one. You're
am too. Now, he's been doing some Instagram things where he's been walking through these graveyard. He's got a graveyard near his house, but he think he's losing some weight. He's working on a diet and stuff. So, I'm proud of Jimmy for that, especially me being a PE teacher, trying to get healthy.
I'd be losing weight walking through a graveyard too, but
well, he said on the last podcast, he goes, "I see what you're saying." I said, "Is there something you're trying to tell us?" And he's like, "Well, no, not really, but And Death Pop Picker said, just go ahead and dig a hole,
So if you guys are out and you find something from your childhood, do you pick it up?
I mean, at this point, only if I think I can sell it. I mean, I'm not a real nostalgic person. Right. Like I do have a lot of books from when I was a kid too, and I won't sell those. But for the most part, I don't like if I found an old G.I. Joe, I'd think it was cool. I had it, and I know I'd have the pictures from where I listed it. But yeah, I would be selling that thing. So
I had an opportunity to buy a thing that I used when I was a kid. It had it's like a little car garage where you go up the ramp and you can park your car, or you can go in the little thing and it cranks down and dings the bell. I left it though. I didn't. I mean, nostalgia only goes so far because it wasn't mine, and it was basically wore out. But yeah, I'm like you, Stewart. If I can resell it, yeah, I'm probably gonna pick it up. But at this point, I'm trying to save space. I don't have to get another storage building. It's all about storage at this point.
I found a sealed Batman action figure at Salvation Army a couple weeks ago, and it was one that I had as a kid that I actually left sealed. And when I was moving out of my parents' house, like I said, I sold all those WWF figures, so I sold the Batman, and I was like, man, I wish I would have kept it. Like, that was cool, and it's worth like $30 or $40. So I found it again sealed. I'm like, fate, like God has given me this Batman. I sold it 2 days later.
Stewart, you want to read that one?
Yeah, I mean, and I agree for the most part with that. Now, I will say that's one place where my booths are nice, because like the difference between the booths and online in a lot of cases is impulse buys. People don't necessarily think about things they're buying at the booth, like if they're online and researching. So if I sell a lot of the Fisher Price, I just sold one of the garages not too long ago, and I sold the airport not too long ago. And they don't go for a whole lot, but you pick them up at a yard sale for a couple of bucks, and I'll usually sell them for, like, depending on condition, $25 to $35. So that's probably more than I could get online because there's quite a few of them listed. So that's where the booth outlets are good for those, like, impulse. Right. People see it and think, "Oh, I had that as a kid. I'm going to buy it." So.
But yeah, I'm like Happy Picker here. I'm just sitting there thinking, it's nostalgic for sure, but I don't see the much value.
Fisher,
and I could be wrong. Could be good to flip. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it depends on what it is. So Fisher Price is based out of Buffalo, and one of the rites of passage of being a child of Buffalo is to try to get your child on Fisher Price material, like advertisements or boxes and stuff like that. So the Fisher Price boxes are actually worth a lot of money to people in Buffalo, because a lot of times it's their family members that are the models on the boxes.
Interesting. I think the next one we have, I'm gonna bring. You need to try to grab something that's yours, and we'll show them on the next show. I'm definitely gonna bring my Tonka truck up, and I'll show that one off for sure.
Yeah, I'll see what I can dig up. I'm sure I can find something.
Well, I believe our next one we're going to do next Wednesday night, guys. Is that correct? Next week?
If that works for you.
Yeah, we'll be on here at 8:00 next week, and we hope everybody out there will join us again. We appreciate those folks that stepped in this evening to join us, and I hope you guys your weekend is good, and hopefully you'll find some good deals. And I know I'm going to get out, and I'm going to try to stay steadfast and
get out of that funk, buddy.
But we'll see what happens.
Get out of that funk.
Get out of that funk. Weather, everybody wish me out of the funk.
I think the weather's supposed to be nice this weekend, so maybe there'll be some yard sales on Saturday for you to go to. I got to work at my antique mall again, both Saturday and Sunday, so that pretty much ties my whole weekend up. But
yeah. Well, that is all the time that we have this evening, guys, on the Finders, Flippers, and Reseller Roundtable. We hope everybody's enjoyed it. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us and people that have commented on our stream here. Join us again next Wednesday at 8 p.m., and we'll be back on here as well. So, gentlemen, you all have a good rest of your week, and get out there and find the good deals.
Thanks for
stopping, guys. See you later. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.